do that?
No.
Okay.
At least it's not a water bottle sliding across there.
Don't speak so soon, sister.
All right. Welcome back to the Always Right podcast. I'm author Karisa DeLay.
And I'm Jaime Vendera, author.
Today you have your generic water bottle.
Yeah.
Your Kroger brand.
I'm a little slow today. I've only got about half a gallon consumed, and it's 9:52. I'm falling behind. All right.
All right. So today we're going to go on to the topic of unearthing what most writers will probably do, and they'll go to Google or they'll go to Safari, they'll go to Firefox, whatever search engine you're using, and they'll type in some questions like, pertaining to writing, pertaining to other stuff. So we're going to talk about those things, some cool searched writing topics.
Yeah, and I mean, right off the bat, this is the first thing I searched for, back when dinosaurs existed, how to improve writing skills. Because, when I would get into first writing Raise Your Voice, I would spend an hour and a half on one paragraph in the very beginning trying to craft it to make it perfect, because I want to save money on an editor back then. So, everyone's looking for,
Most authors are wanting to do that in the beginning. If you think about it.
Yeah, they want to do their own cover. They want to do this. I was the same way because when I started, Kindle didn't exist. I wanted to do an ebook, and it was all HTML. I'd studied all these programs, and it was going to be like picture pages. I'm like, I can't do this. They really weren't selling PDFs at that time. Yeah. So luckily it's changed. So
yeah, and your search engines back in that day did not exist.
No, not like they do now.
Your search engine was the library.
Yep.
Yeah, the good old-fashioned
card catalog.
Yeah. All right. So when I was doing this, something that I didn't realize was a lot of the data searches are not public. Like Google doesn't release certain things publicly. Amazon doesn't release certain things. So a lot of their statistics are not available. So some of these are based on like keywords I was able to search out and find, but most of them, if you're asking for a specific thing, it's like, can't find these because these statistics technically don't exist currently. Like I can't do to-date statistics right now because they're not released to the public. So, all right, I have a list. This first question was one of the most searched topics in about search topics about writing. So this is specifically in general about writing. What are people searching that has to pertain to writing? So one of the first things that came up was creative writing topics. So these are like the structure, dialogue writing, ways to
character development.
Yeah, like develop the character and stuff. So those were some of the creative techniques that people were searching out. Like, how do I do this?
It's funny. Like even when I started writing fiction, I'm a reader. We love to read fiction, but I never grabbed onto that, to the story development, the character development. And I'm like, why is Terry Brooks so amazing and I suck? And, of course it was Daniel. He's like, man, you know what I've been doing? Cause we kind of started writing fiction together. He says, he watches Netflix and he got me hooked on that. And he's like, oh, you're going to write a space sci-fi. Well, go in there and watch every space television show or movie that you can. And pay attention. Yes.
Go read those things too, because a lot of times that is the suggestion: is go read the books that are in your genre that you're trying to learn how to write. And Jeff Rivera gave us this tip as well: was go read those series, go read those books that stand out in that genre, and add the tropes that they're putting in there.
Absolutely. No, and I did the same thing. Like I went through and read, especially when I started Age of the Sigil. I tried to read, what's the one that we don't like the ending of the television show? Game of Thrones. I tried.
We're going to become like hate fans of Game of Thrones when this podcast is like booming and people are like, oh, that podcast
You're canceled. You don't like it. You didn't finish the first book.
No, lies. I like 7 out of 8 seasons.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like the whole show. But the books I just couldn't get into. They were just, and brilliant writer, but it was just too deep. Oh, yeah. Terry is just easily fun. But same thing with J.R.R. Tolkien. I mean, he's kind of light. I've read some of his stuff, but Terry, Cinda Williams Chima, CWC. I always put her name backwards. Sorry, Cinda. One of my favorite authors. But I read a lot of those because hers was more YA fantasy, where Terry was more a little bit more adult fantasy, and it's tropes. I look for those. Try not to copy. Like, be careful. Don't blatantly steal a name or of a new character, but see how the story's moving. What is it you like about that character? This one's smartass and this one's like sweet as can be. You want to have that differentiation between them, so there's clashing even within the friendships.
Yeah. All right. While you take a drink, I'm going to move on to this next one.
Anytime I take a drink, it's your turn.
Well, good, because this next one is not something that you're going to agree with, but people search out how to overcome writer's block.
Did you read what I texted you earlier today?
No,
I'm putting that in this podcast. I said, hey, I'm filming that to talk about the episodes, and I'm calling them writer's blocks. And I'm making the video because little blocks of tips, and I even put in there, it's funny because I don't believe in writer's block, but Karisa does. But get in.
Yeah, no, you didn't. I don't. Yeah, when we were trying to start this episode, which right now it says it's uploading at 0% on my end.
What?
What's it uploading on your end?
It's I'm at 99%. We're 6 minutes and 36 seconds in.
Sweet. Well, anyways, when we were trying to start this episode, I could hear you listening to that video, and I was like, when you couldn't hear me at first. So I did hear that. It was on writer.
Like it? I did
like it. Yay. No, I'm not allowed to talk like that. My husband doesn't like that accent. He prefers the British one, but the southern one.
The Jamie one, he's not too happy about.
Linda's not into that one.
All right, overcoming this time when you're bored, right? Which Karisa calls writer's block.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a huge search topic.
Yeah, because people are trying to like reignite their fuel power to write, overcome these like obstacles that they're facing when they can't kind of get words on the page. Like I said in that episode,
yeah,
which I said,
but you know what? I agree because I feel like a lot of people use it as an excuse too. Like, I got writer's block, but I work 10 hours a day and I got the kids and I got this. And a lot of times, I mean, if you love writing, you have to immerse yourself in it. So this is a topic I know so many people are researching. If they'd follow me, they wouldn't have to worry about that because they'd be inspired. The reason I'm not writing Age of the Sigil for you is because I'm bored.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
That's a lie. Because you're not bored. You're super excited about Age of the Sigil. You're just waiting on a few things to work out the things in your life.
Pseudo-right. I'm not going to say anything, but if you guys heard that.
Stuff going on here, I don't even hear it. Don't you dare blame them.
Okay.
Be writing right now. Run your mouth.
All right.
So most of these topics we have covered in episodes. So, if you're searching it, find our podcast.
Yep.
It's like there's that whole phrase. There's an app for that.
Yep. There's a podcast for that. Yeah.
There's an episode for that.
We need to start using that. Put that on the board of all the strange words we make up. Even though it's not a strange word, that's a catchphrase.
Yeah,
there's an episode for that.
Well, I do have a list for catchphrases too on there. And the other one's like it's AI.
AI. All right. So another one they search for is self-publishing versus traditional publishing,
which you did early on in the podcast, of course.
Yep.
People are just trying to compare success stories. Is it successful on either side? How long are you waiting? What's the process, and what should they do? Something else that people will do, which was down here, is they kind of like look into how, if they are going to self-publish, how they're going to market those ideas and how to effectively use self-publishing as a benefit to them. So
and what people don't realize is even if you go traditional publishing, a lot of times that's on your shoulders too. Like, I want to publish and then my book's going to blow up. That is not true. The publisher gets the book out there. Yeah, they may put some money in marketing, but it's coming back. You're paying for it. You just don't see it up front. But if you really want your book to move, this is a topic you definitely want to research. And guess what? There's an episode for it.
Yes. Yeah, and we have an episode coming up where we're going to kind of pick the brain of someone who is a bestseller, not only, here, but internationally. And we're going to talk to her about her whole, process, how that came to be. Like, I'm excited for that episode.
Yep.
So, okay. We have writing prompts and ideas. So this is something where people are trying to be inspired. They want to write, they've got that fuel, but they don't have the kindling. They don't have the kindling to start the fire. You know what I mean? It's like they've got the fuel, they just need the logs to really build that fire for their writing.
Yeah, I know authors who writing prompts, especially in nonfiction, they follow the trends. Like AI came out. How can you make money with AI? How can you write with AI? And then you go to Kindle, and one day there's no books on AI, and the next day there's 413 books on AI, because everyone's like, "Oh, I want to write an AI book," or maybe the Olympics. Maybe now there's going to be a book on how to break dance.
Well, that's gone.
Did they get rid of it?
Never got rid of it for the next Olympics.
I wonder whose fault that was.
Australia.
Yes. And, God love her. She's like, I just want to do, I know I'm going to win. I want to do my thing. I want to get hate for this, but they're like, check, why didn't she do this? And they showed another video of her, and she was decent. She's about as good as I was when I was in my teens. I love this. I could never.
Okay, this is now in the 80s. We had 30 years to perfect this.
Exactly. She didn't watch Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo, or she would have been on point. I forget this before your time. Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. Masterpieces of movies.
Sounds like you're jumbling your words. All right. Something else that's searched is grammar guides. This would be me.
Typo.
Yeah, and I feel like this is where, like, do I put 2 spaces or 1 space after the sentence? Do I indent my book? Like, is it indented? How does that work? How do I space after a paragraph into dialogue? Things like that. But people are also searching. This isn't just for fiction. People are searching a lot of college or nonfiction or personal essays. Yeah, they're trying to figure out like Chicago style AP. I do that one because a lot of times when professors will go back and forth as far as this professor was an MLA, this one's a Chicago 17th edition. I have to go and remind myself how those citations work. Not only when you're putting your references in, but when you're putting in your in text citations. So I do that. I search that a lot.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't think we do indentations in my fiction. Maybe the first one, and we would have the first word would be really big and more graphic, and then you go down to your regular.
The first letter.
Yeah, the first letter.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Which Daniel
we did the first letter.
A couple weeks ago when Daniel was on, that was something he talked about, is how knowing to, and do that indentation. That's where
my main things is remembering red, comma, white, comma, and blue. One space. Like if you got 3 things, like red, white, and blue, I do red, comma, white, comma, and blue. A lot of people do red, comma, white, and blue.
Yeah, but that makes blue and white the same. You're supposed to space after the blue.
I know, but a lot of people, I will catch that. That drives me nuts.
Yeah. Okay, of course, marketing for writers. A lot of people will search out ways to effectively market their work, which I mentioned before, like especially if you're going to be a self-publishing author. Freelance writing tips. This is again, those people who maybe want to go out there and just be a freelance writer because they just enjoy writing so much and they want to go out and help, a certain situation that needs some writing stuff.
Yep.
I've done that. People need writers, and it's not just fiction and nonfiction type stuff. I mean, you need people to write up for insurance companies. You need people to write for doctors' offices or hospitals, certain things. So
yeah, I've written for Sweetwater Music, for iGuitar Magazine. I do newsletters every week. That I realized I got 4 articles I need to get written. I just remembered. Put it on the list. All right. Yes, writing courses and workshops.
Yes, writing courses and workshops. This is where people try to find writing groups where they're meeting up to kind of work as, it's nice sometimes to collaborate and work with other people and get feedback. And we had an episode where we talked about writing groups, not only on social media, but the ones online and how to find some of them in your local areas. So there is an episode for that. Book reviews and critiques. This is where we came up with the word crolls. Yeah, so this is something that not only people are searching out top reviewed books, but people are actually trying to figure out how to critique a book, if you know what I mean. How to write a review, how to write a book review. If you're learning, how to write how to go in, read something for a company, that like say you're in like some kind of literary magazine or something like that, they're also learning how to critique professionally, because there is an etiquette to follow.
Yeah, and they're also looking, I see this a lot, like, hey, I need book reviews on my book.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
Yeah,
trying to
paid
seek out
reviews.
how to
Yeah,
find credible sources
exactly. Yeah.
to, review your book.
Yeah. So the last thing I listed on this particular topic is genre specific writing advice. So people are like, oh, looking for those tropes. What are the tropes? What are the things that have to be in this genre? What do I need to make sure that I'm putting into a vampire book? What do I need to put into these things, to kind of craft more of a skill that invites, that particular audience.
Yeah,
So
I mean, romance, erotica, YA fantasy, that's a big jump between those two, but there are little things that you have to pay attention to.
well, you make that point, and it's actually a good point to make, that whenever you're crossing that boundary between YA and adult, you need to know where the lines are drawn. You
Yeah,
know,
especially, yeah, because when you go into Kindle too, like when we upload a book, it says, what age is this for?
Mhm.
And you even see this on YouTube now. Yeah, you want to make sure it's appropriate. And especially if you say, oh, this is for kids, and then Amazon will read through it and be like, you got a lot of sex scenes in here, or there's a lot of curse words.
Mhm.
No, this isn't for kids. So,
Yeah.
definitely be appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, this is more of like the most searched topics by authors. And we mentioned this up above, which was how to get published. That's of course
Yep.
going to be how do I get published? Now I'm an author. How do I get published? Um, and like I said, a lot of the times when I was trying to search certain things, Amazon and Google and these things, they don't publicly give a lot of these stats out. I had to kind of create some things that I felt like I could get a search topic for, that I could get these lists. And the most searched topics related to nonfiction specifically. Memoir writing, which this is something we have not covered. This is something that I'm like, oh, we should add these to the podcast episodes. This is kind of getting more of that narrative structure, that personal reflection that people need to learn how to do. People are searching out, how do I do that?
No, I think that's a great topic. Not that I write a memoir, but I've thought about it before. And I'm like,
Yeah.
who's going to read that? I broke a glass. I wrote a book. I'm done. But
Yeah, but I
yeah,
think you could probably get a little bit more into that.
I got ADHD. Carissa made a cartoon about it. So no, that's a good
Personal.
topic. I like to
Yeah.
do a
Yeah.
full episode on that for sure.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. So we'll add that to the set list. All right. Personal essays. Guidance on crafting personal essays that effectively convey your insights of your personal self. Ideas. Ideas from inside your personal being.
So that's not a memoir. Would it be like why I like fishing? And this is my personal, where are we going with this? Personal essays. Is it an overall view of your life, or do you mean like an essay based on something but influenced by your personal experiences?
Well, so that's something that I'm gonna actually put on here. Where'd my pens go? Oh, there it is. I found it, darling. All right. Okay, so that's a question I'm going to answer in another episode. But we are going to talk about the difference between a memoir and a personal episode, or personal essay.
Personal episode essay.
Personal episode.
Episode.
Oh, yes. There we go. On the list, we shall discuss the difference.
Perfect. That was my evil plan.
Sure it was.
Yeah, not really. Okay. Let's go on to the next one, because I'm like, yeah.
Yes.
What kind of drug is he on? None.
Oh my gosh, don't even say it.
Yep. It's not caffeine.
Yes, we know. It's no drugs. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Researching and fact checking. This is for nonfiction. It should be the top.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Top researching the facts and using actual sources that have been fact checked by other scholars or other people in that industry.
I see it a lot. I'm going to call them out a lot in voice coaching. Somebody will come up with a new concept and I'm like, oh, it's proven to make your chords adduct better. Is it? Well, I mean, but then this person will say it, and this one, and this one, this one, and then it's like spread.
Mhm.
I'm always careful with that. I'm wanting to decide. I want to see what a doctor, what a vocal scientist says before I would, put any weight behind it. But it doesn't matter. In coaching, it's like, look at me, how smart I am, and then
Mhm.
and then we have to change things. So,
Well, and I find myself that things that I learned back in the day of growing up prior to the internet, or I should say access to the internet, because the internet's been around longer than I've been able to access it, um, as far as in our personal homes. But when we were told certain things, our parents told us things that we took as the gospel. We took that as the truth because there was not a quick way to challenge that.
there's monsters in that water.
Under your bed.
Yeah.
Don't hang your feet over the bed, because I'm pretty sure that was fact back in my day. But what I'm saying is, so fact checking wasn't as accessible as it wasn't. You couldn't get to it as easy today.
Yep.
So with that said, a lot of times when I say something to my kids, they're like, I don't think that's true. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's definitely true. I learned this when I was younger. And then you go and it's like, not true.
Yep.
You're like, oh, the universe is literally doing the Mandela effect on me when it comes to the facts I learned in the 80s. Like, drinking from the hose water was fine.
Yep.
All right. Other things that are searched out by authors about non-fiction things are writing for magazines and journals, how to pitch articles, publications, and see what editors are actually looking for. What's trending? What are they looking for? What do they need? Those are the things that are being searched out as far as those types of writings. Yes.
No, yeah, it's very important. I've had to do that when I was writing for Sweetwater. You really have to look at the magazine or the company to make sure that what you're writing isn't. Mm-hmm. If you're a wacky writer and you like to have fun, it may not fit that journal. If it's a scientific journal, they want to be very on point. So pay attention to who you're submitting to or who you want to do that, so that you do meet what their criteria, something like that. Yeah. Words just keep coming out of my mouth because we're heading towards book proposals. I don't know why I'm so excited today.
You're literally running out of breath.
No, I think what it is, I did it on purpose. I'll keep running it out. I'm happy that I filmed that video for us earlier.
Yes.
And I need another drink of water. Book proposals.
Yes. Oh, this is the step that I think a lot of times people, when they watch fiction and they see an author in a fiction setting, they feel this is the way the world works with publishing. It has this ideology that you submit these book proposals and then someone's going to pay you until you write it. That usually happens after someone's pretty well known for their writing and they're on retainer to keep writing things and put a new book out. That doesn't happen in immediate. And so there was a local author from where I was before, who was telling people that she was getting published, but her book wasn't even done yet. And I'm like, that's not how that works. Like you may have submitted the idea and like, oh yeah, when you're done with that idea, make sure you get in contact with us and let us see what you have. Maybe that's what they said. But it's not like, if you're not finished, and you're not a known writer and this is your first book and you have nothing to share yet, it's not a world where people just typically, sure, let me publish you, because they may get your stuff and be like, oh, we've committed to a publication that sucks.
And it could have been. I mean, I don't know the situations. Like, I'm going to use Author House or somebody like that to self-publish. Yeah. I'm getting published. Well, yeah, when you send in the money and you have your manuscript, it's a done deal. And there's a lot of that. I mean, that was an explosion, and everybody's got a book in them. So I could see somebody being excited about that. But take this seriously. I mean, if you really want to get published, you have to study up on book proposals. I think we've kind of covered this in an episode too. I'm sure we'll dive in deeper.
And I mean, so like nonfiction, that's different. I'm not talking about nonfiction book proposals are a little different because a lot of times you'll have like professors or people with PhDs or people that have ideas that they will pitch. And they're like, yes, this is a great idea. Let's do this. And so you are kind of pushed to do that. So I'm not saying this is for every writing situation, but in this particular situation, that's not how I'm like, this is not how it worked. I even looked into the person. They're like, oh yeah, so-and-so's publishing me. And you look on there like this person didn't publish like anything. It's like, what is like even their website was some other company. Like it wasn't even them. It was like so weird, but whatever.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yes. Travel writing. This is something that would be really cool to have on here, is to get someone who writes for travel companies to get, how do you you have to travel there? Are you going based on the reviews? How do some of these travel writers work? That'd be a nice job, though, actually. I might want
I
to go
actually know
apply
a
for that
travel
one.
writer.
Do you?
Yes.
Let's get that person on
Ryan
here.
Murdoch. Ryan, if you're listening to this, we want you on the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him.
Yes, that would be awesome. Okay, perfect. I'm also marking that one so I can remind you to stay on that, because I know you've already forgot. Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, what about self-help writing? Apparently, I need some of that to stay on and remember what I said a minute ago. So I've done some
Yeah.
self-help writing, unleash your creative mindset, but
Yeah, a lot of your books, and like even some of the authors we have on Vendera are self-help when it comes to some of the vocal stuff, like how to help.
Yep.
Yeah.
Melody to Madness by Ray West is really is a self-help, because when you're a touring artist, it's a mind game, and you can get lost pretty quick. So, so there is techniques, when you're writing self-help, you really want to speak to your audience or your readers, and from a point like you've been there, if they can connect with you and feel that you've went through that, that's going to make you a better writer. But yes, this is definitely a big topic that's searched.
Yeah. So like a few of these kind of go together. So the next three I'm going to kind of combine, because they're all in a sense creative writing. Whether it's journalistic, whether it's writing for the web, all of these kind of fit under like a creative nonfiction style writing that people are going to search out. So one of the classes, well, actually various classes you can take in college are creative writing, and that's because it is something that has to be, in a sense, learned if you're not already naturally a creative writer. But even like honing your skills, creative writing is something that isn't just something people can do, like unless it's a natural thing. You kind of have to figure out how to improve those skills. Where was
Writing for the web?
Oh, here it is. I was like, why does this look like I've already read this part? I was looking at the wrong page.
Writing for the web.
I combined writing for the web with the creative writing, because you're still using.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, because that's still considered creating, not nonfiction writing in a creative manner. And you just got to figure out which platforms you're writing for, essentially.
Yeah, we've had submissions. I've had submissions to do blogs for us, for even JaimeVendera.com, for Vendera Publishing, for people. If it would fit, we would do it. So there are a lot of people out there, and they can make a living at writing for the web for different websites. You haven't want to hear editing nonfiction, but I think editing in general, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, that's a highly researched subject. Which I know we kind of touched on that earlier, but making sure that when you're revising anything that you write, for clarity, for structure, to make sure there's engagement with your reader, is very important. I know both of us have read books, like, oh, I'm excited about this book, and it was like, it was so boring, there was no engagement. So, I'm confused. I'm like, you didn't really give me much clarity. I read a book recently. I will not say who it is. I really like this guy. He is an actual scientist, and he's got a really cool product out. And I bought his book on Kindle, and I read it, and we'd had conversations on the phone, and I texted him. I said, dude, I'm not trying to do anything, but I found a lot of typos and errors, and must be something in your formatting. I just wanted to let you know so you can fix it. Crickets.
So I probably would have done that too. I would have given you crickets, like, really?
Yeah. It was horrible, though. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens. And I said, I think it's a formatting issue. Just want to let you know so you can fix it, so nobody would give you a bad review. And, and I'm like, hey, by the way, we talked a couple weeks ago. Nothing. So I'm sure I offended him. But
because you know what you need to work on? Now
ADHD?
No. Your approach to texting people when you're critiquing.
Yep.
Yes. You have to start with the positive. Like, hey,
I did. I said, I absolutely love this book. I said, it was amazing. I said, I learned so much from it. I said, but I did want to let you know, I think there's some kind of weird grammatical thing, or when you upload it, because it's throwing off the way your pages are going. And I just want to give you a heads up in case you needed to fix it. So I'm assuming he done it himself. And, and so if I offend him, I apologize. But hey, if my book says screwed up, I want to know.
Maybe you should reach out and say, hey, I think maybe my wording might have.
I already did. I haven't heard from him. It's not an issue.
Maybe he's dead.
Huh? No.
Maybe he's dead. Okay.
He's on.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
Because
silly.
if he has rapport, I'll be like, by the way, I got ideas for your videos on your product, and then he'll really be offended. So we would just drop it. Ooh, I
This
guess we're
one's for
moving.
you.
Yes, yes. It's funny because I thought about this earlier. I was like, hey, we're talking about books and this and
Writing.
that.
No, we're
But
talking about
here's,
writing.
yes. So here are some frequently searched topics related to writing a song. And I work every day teaching voice. I work with so many artists with restructuring their songs, chord changes, lyric changes, adding bridges. So the number one thing, and I didn't even have to look at your list, would definitely be song structure. And, you know, I'll have a student and they'll write a song, and I'm like, look, it's really not structured well. Who is your favorite artist? Oh, this person and this person. Go find their top 5 songs, and then I want you to pay attention. Is it intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus? Write down exactly how it, because I explained to them what a chorus is, what a verse is, what a bridge is, and then compare them. And every time they come back, I'm like, wow, if they would research 10 or 20 songs, there's only 3 or 4 patterns. And like, wow, I didn't realize it was that simple. I said, yes, you want to be hooky, so pay attention to song structure. Don't go too far off in left field. Unless you're a prog rock band, then you can do whatever you want. So, and
Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm letting you go down this list because this is all you.
Okay, lyric writing. For me, yes, tips on how to write meaningful, relatable, and catchy lyrics. A lot of people, just like with book writing, they try to overdo it. They try to think too deep with it. I don't really write. I just let it come to me. But you want to be down to earth. You want to talk. You want to, write your lyrics very conversational, like you would in real life. You don't want to let me find a different word for this.
I think about that when I listen to music because I don't know. I'm like, did this artist have the song in their head, like lyrics, and they just put them out on paper, or did they have the music and the lyrics together? Like, did they have the beats together? Because some of these are just so catchy how the beats go.
Everybody's different. Like I don't write lyrics first, but I know a lot of artists who do, and then they kind of imagine and they start getting which leads to our next one, melody creation. They'll start humming or come up with a melody idea, and then they'll apply it and they'll change the phrasing of the lyrics. So a lot of people are looking for how do you create a melody, how to craft a melody, how that can complement your lyrics. So it is a marriage for sure. To me, every singer is a rhythm machine, and you want to have flow and phrasing. You want to be in the pocket. So chords and harmony. I'm a harmony writing freak. That's another thing I do. Check out Love Juliet. We need to have her on here, or Danny Black. I've worked with Danny. We've had her on here.
Danny Black on here.
We've worked with chord structure. We went over harmony with Love Juliet. Shut Up and Kiss Me. Alter Ego. I helped her write all those harmonies. She's got a new song coming out called "Can We Be Kids Again." She just reached out. She said, I need to get in next week. I'm like, she got another song she wants to write harmonies on. So, chords and harmony, they go together. I'm a keyboard player. So if you're playing a C chord, a C, E, and a G, and your melody is in a C, you have the possibility of having an E harmony, a G harmony. There's other harmonies you can do, but that's the basics for it. So people want to know, how do I do this? How do I move from one chord to the next? You really got to learn a little bit about music theory for that. Song themes and ideas. This really goes back to your lyrics. Conversational. You got to have a theme. Is it love? Is it heartbreak? Is it personal experience? Storytelling. Are you exciting? Are you a country singer? I'm out in the club. Wee-hoo. You're doing something.
And so this is something that 21 Pilots does with their stuff. Is the entire album is the story. Taylor Swift does this. The entire album is a story. A lot of people will make their album almost like a novel, and each song is a chapter in that overall book.
Oh, I love when people do that. I know Dream Theater did it with Scenes from a Memory Part 2, and it was wonderful. It's
Darset does it.
Yeah. So yes, exactly. Everything they do that way.
They connect
so
things.
Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime, that was one of the big ones on the radio. Is wow, it's a concept album. Everything flows together. Rhyming and meter really goes back to everything melody creation. I don't like to overdo rhyme all the time because it would be a crime. We don't want to.
Gosh.
Oh man, Joe. But I say that a lot because I have singers and they're like, I want to play all day and then I'll stay in the hay, okay? And I'm like, it's too much. You gotta, I always go back, does this sound like a kid's nursery rhyme? Because if it does, we need to change it. There's a way. And for those who are songwriters, you don't have to rhyme. I know people who do songs and there's not any rhyme scheme, but they're storytellers and it still pulls you in. And the meter, is in 4/4, is in 3/4. What's your phrasing? Are you in the pocket? Are your lyrics flowing with the beat of the drum? It's all cool. Songwriting tools and apps. I'm thinking. I think this app is called Klimper. I may be wrong. There are so many cool apps out there now that maybe you don't play a guitar or a keyboard, and you're like, oh, I got this idea, and you can hum a melody, and you can find a chord, and then you can put it together and make your song even without being able to play an instrument. Or there are tools like if you need a rhyme, you're like, I don't know what rhymes with this word. I'm a rapper. What's this tool? And you can input the words that you're using, and it'll show you all the words that can do it. Sorry, I must be phlegmy today.
Are you phlegmy?
Yes. All right. So so there's chord generators, writing apps. I didn't even read your notes here. You got excellent notes, but that's exactly where I went to. Both of those type of apps are great. A collaborative writing. This is basically how I do everything. I write with Scott Stith, of course, for the Vendera and Stith stuff. I write with Ryan Wolf for the Angel Fire East. Very collaborative. With Scott, he'll come in and he'll start playing some different chords, and I'll be like, that right there. No, get rid of that. And we'll start building a song, and then lyrics start coming to me. With Ryan, he'll just jam on a bunch of stuff, and he'll send it to me, and I'm like, okay, that 1 minute and 16-second thing you did, I only like from 30 seconds to 38 seconds. Let's build a song around that. And then that's how we unroll. But, a lot of the artists I work with, they go to Nashville and they work with tons of great songwriters for writing pop and country and Christian music. So don't be a stickler. A lot of people are like, I'm natural and I write all my own music, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing wrong with having a collaborator. There's a song by the band Saliva, Rest in Pieces. And I know Josie, love Josie. And that song was a little different for them, but it was a really good song. And I just saw somebody posted yesterday who's in his touring band now, said, oh, Nikki Six from 6 a.m. and James, forget his last name, just slipped my mind. They wrote that song for specifically for Saliva. And now as I listen to it, I'm like, wow, I hear the 6 a.m. influence. And it's cool. They still did a great job. So you would be surprised at how many of your favorite songs have co-writers.
Well, that's like there's a songwriter, but he also has a band, and I cannot think of the One Republic. I think it is the lead singer for that. He writes songs for a lot of people, and I'm like, if you write songs, why wouldn't you, sing them yourself? But then
because you make a lot of money. Yeah.
Well, but you probably like this song. This song would sound better if somebody else did it.
Yeah. Well, and that's what it is. I think like Jack Blades, I'm pretty sure from Night Ranger, I'm pretty sure he wrote a couple songs for like Aerosmith. So you're writing a song and you're like, oh, I got an Aerosmith feel. Oh, let me, submit this to them and see if they want to pick it up and write and, record it. So, that gives you creative expression, and you're allowed to branch out and not just write for your solo material or your band. So maybe you're a metal dude, but you love writing pop music. And you're like, I can't do that. They're not going to play it. But, Taylor might want this.
What about when it comes down to who edits your songs and revises them?
Producers. I mean, it really depends. If you have a songwriting team, for example, a girl, she said, had a lesson the other day, and she said, right afterwards, I got to get with the songwriters that I co-wrote this with, because my team, they want the words, the verses to be a little more personal. And she said, do you mind if we take a stab at it? And because I do more than vocal coaching, I'm like, sure. And we literally rewrote the verses, and she's like, wow, that is so great. It tells more of the story. It pulls me in. I said, okay. Of course, I don't take a lot of people take like a publishing credit. I don't. This is just part of my voice lessons. I said, now take it to your songwriters, see what they think, and you guys work and revise it until everybody's happy. I said, I don't care if you keep anything I came up with, but do it. And so there's a process. Or you may even be in the studio with the producer, especially like with writing harmonies, like even with Love Juliet. I said, if we write these harmonies and you learn them, and then you go in the studio, do the lead harmony, that producer is going to flip out and be like, oh, I got an idea. And it happened exactly how I said it. Got the song back. I'm like, I didn't write that, that, and that. And that was cool. It was great because I knew that's what would happen. She's like, I know. I got it all done. And he was so inspired. He said, why don't we try this?
You should probably let people tag you in as like co-helping. You may eventually make royalties on certain things that go pretty
I thought
big.
about that. I have the joke.
And
I'm like,
you could literally have someone mowing your grass, and you could move to Destin, Florida.
I say this joke every time. I'm like, no, remember, I didn't help you write this. I said, I should because I'd be a millionaire by now.
Yeah, you would like literally have somebody else mowing your hill.
Yep, I know.
And
Music.
you could probably afford a better looking water bottle than that one.
I was actually, see how ADHD, I thought I took a drink. There we go.
Wow, you just splashed it everywhere.
I've seen it. It's all over my pants. Music genre styles. Yeah. Especially if you're a songwriter, you're not so much starting a band, you got to understand the difference. And we're not just talking metal to country to pop. I mean, you could be a country artist and there are different subgenres within that, or even within pop. So you really have to pay attention to the nuances. So you're really dialing it down, like indie pop, like Selena Gomez, like she says, "I'm so good for you." When she does that thing where she modifies her vowels, that's not going to work in this style of pop. So you got to pay attention. Is it indie pop? Is it punk pop? Is it pop rock? So yeah, understanding the different genres definitely will affect your songwriting approaches. I feel like I came alive after this songwriting. I see what you did to me. Overcoming writer's block. Strategies for getting past creative blocks. Here's the best information. Start planning in your mind. I don't have writer's block. I'm either bored or I'm excited. Recording demos. Wow, it's so easy today. But a lot of people are like, how can I record a good demo? Be careful. Don't get excited and finish it and think you can put it out as a song. I knew a guy who did that, and it was bad. And, we've told him, like, why did you do that? Recording a demo is to get your scratch, to get your ideas off your mind, your guitar riffs, your piano, your vocals. So anybody can do it in this day and age. You have an iPhone. We have apps on there, little recording dolls, digital audio workstations. You can have a way like IK Multimedia or Scarlett to plug into your iPhone or an iPad or your Mac and just use a basic microphone. Like even this IK here, I don't even need that. I can plug it right in. We have it plugged into the iPad. Simple. So I can literally record with an app and get my ideas down. So, all right.
This next part, yeah. So
this
next
is
part,
yours.
yeah. So this is something that people search out for writing college papers. And I thought this was a good one to add because I literally just finished a class where I had never wrote a literature review and never wrote a go ahead.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with you with that article, with what you wrote.
Shut your face.
How many words did it have to be?
Well, the literature review was like 2,500.
And you did 2492 or something like that. Yeah.
Well, it was between 2,100 and 2,500 was the
You didn't
parameter.
tell me that. You said 2,500 words. And when you said...
Well, because the professor put out, like, this needs to be 7 to 9 pages. So that's around 2,100 to 2,500 words. And of course, if you set it at 2,500 words, I'm going to go as close to 2,500 words as possible.
Yeah, but I was counting on it. Because what did I say to you? Can't you throw a little extra line in there to get it to 2,500?
Oh, so you were disappointed that I didn't go that far. I'm like, no,
exactly.
I'm good.
Because I was like, 2,500, let's do it.
No, you just, yeah. So
I
was
now.
Actually overachieving.
You're actually overachieved, so I'm cool with it now.
Yeah. So, and I never had done a research proposal before. So I had to do both in this class. And I enjoyed the class because I did learn, but a lot of the learning was kind of on my own. Because the professor didn't provide examples. He gave you, I showed you the sheet, I think. Maybe I took a picture. I'm not sure.
Yep.
It was very small, like, instructions, but I'm like, but what's it supposed to, because I'm a creative person. What's it supposed to look like? Is there like, is this subtopics bold? Like, what is a literature review supposed to look like? How are the sections laid out? That was the thing. I did not know how to put that in, as far as starting out. So I had to do a lot of Google searching, a lot of like going in there and seeing what other people do, watching a few YouTube videos, like what's the basic guidelines when you're doing this. So, but okay. So essay writing, tips for being like more argumentative. If you're doing an argumentative essay or you're doing a descriptive essay, depending on the type that you're doing, a lot of people search out, how do I do this? Research papers, the key things, how to cite research papers, formatting styles, like I had said, like that is one of the things I'm always, even if I've done several research papers, I still go and like, okay, remind me what is the APA style? Or I typically, if I'm given the option from a professor where they're like, we don't care how you cite, just make sure you're consistent. I will always go to MLA. That seems to be the one I like the most. Time management. Strategies for managing effective assignment or effective timelines to meet your deadlines. This is something that they teach at ASU, like it's kind of pushed because a lot of people will try last minute and they're like, do not do last minute every day. Check your emails every day. Do some reading every day. Do this. And it is essential to do that daily. So you stay, one, in a habit, and two, you're staying on point with your topic and not losing focus on what you're writing, because we all know that first draft is terrible. So this topic here, plagiarism and academic integrity. I actually, you know what, people can get mad at me, but I did email my professor over a student that copy pasted AI.
I don't blame you. We discussed this. That's bull.
Yes. Yeah. And people could be like, whatever. Well, here's the thing. When a student posts something or uses AI copy paste and sets the bar as to what a student should be giving a professor, like, oh, this is great. This is perfect. This is like, looks like they've researched this a lot, not knowing they used AI. And then now this bar of AI is where every student has to kind of hit to be that top grade. And that's not fair to those who are not using AI. So I didn't call out a particular student with a name, but I did message my professor. He's an older professor. And I said, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I said, I have a podcast with my publishing partner that we were experimenting with AI. And in experimenting with AI, what I've learned is there is a set kind of parameter in which it responds.
Shows you is that person's inexperience with ChatGPT, because if you really wanted a prompt, you should have taken, here's a question, but I want this. I want sites. I want you to refer to this. I want you to make it funny. So yes, it'll do the same thing every time if you do not give it the correct prompts.
Yeah, actually, that's something that and ASU embraces AI as a tool, and it can be a great tool when it comes to like, because I've done this where I'm like, okay, the professor gives me 120 pages of reading. I start reading. I'm like, wow, this is very boring. And I think I've read this stuff. This is like a repeat of something from another book. I take the PDF. I'm like, okay, summarize this for me, please. Is there anything new I need to see? And then like, it's like, can you itemize the topics based on page? And it will do that for me. And then I can go to that page and be like, okay, I'm going to read this more in depth. I don't have the time to read 120 pages of fluff and then be like, oh my gosh. But I still have to personally respond to how this stuff's going. I still sometimes have to go back and be like, okay, what was it saying here? That is something.
Well, then you could run it through ChatGPT and actually say, summarize this, which would be great. Which is what we were talking about earlier with the sigil books. I need, even though I just read them, I'm like, I really need to have this summarized by AI just to keep me on point. So
yes, like with Canvas, we just talked about this. Like I put my brain dump in there. So what I do is I basically dump everything I'm putting into the story into this like it doesn't have to be perfect sentences. You literally just dumping your storyline onto the page. And sometimes I feel like you're only given like so much space to do it, and I'm over sentencing things. So then it does take up too many words to kind of put it out there. But then what it does is you have that in there and you're like, okay, what I just wrote, summarize it for me. So AI will go in, read it and summarize. But then when you read your summary, you're like, oh, apparently I wasn't giving the point across properly, because when it summarized it, it missed what I was trying to say. Then you can kind of go back and be like, okay, I need to fix this. So
absolutely.
All right. So that is something I'm putting on here. We're going to go back over AI. We're going to kind of do a little bit.
I'm sure we'll have many, especially as it's going to continue to grow. Yeah. All right.
Study techniques. How, like, for certain subjects, what's the best way to memorize something? Maybe terms or whatever. excuse me. Presentation skills. This is something that, I feel people have to search out for PowerPoints if they've never created a PowerPoint, how to create a presentation.
It will kind of tie into public speaking as well, correct? Because I've had it in PowerPoint, like in India, and you really have to, kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
All right.
Group projects. This is something search-wise, I don't know what you would technically be searching other than maybe a self-help on how to work with a group. On a group project, when one person we know is always not going to do the work.
Yep.
Creating outlines. This is good for just any kind of general writing in a sense, but outlines are really, really good when doing college papers. When you are trying to make sure your topics are all discussed, you're like, okay, I can't forget. I have to put this topic in there. Write them all out as an outline. So it's really nice to kind of search out how to create these kind of things when you're organizing specific types of papers. Using academic databases. So this is something that when you're at a college, they will typically have a specific database they want you to use. And they want you to be able to, some professors want you to use only peer-reviewed journal articles. Some want you to use stuff on Google Scholar. So I've seen that. So you got to pay attention and learn how to use those search engines. Proofreading and editing. Now, this is something that I use Grammarly with my stuff because Grammarly goes in there and I can set my goals as an essay or a report or other, and I can hit academic. I can even hit whether I'm using APA or if I'm using MLA or Chicago. I can put the styles, set those parameters. So when I'm going in there, it's going to tell me if I'm doing something that's not quite, the way it's supposed to be. Online resources. So this is something that I use when it comes to editing citations, when it's like so sometimes when you're doing a video or you're doing something that you're like, I'm not sure how to cite this material, there are citation generators. So you can put your work in there and you can ask it to generate a citation in your format. So those are great tools. There's also tools out there to help you with your assignment. If you have a literature review or whatever, you can be like, okay, I have a literature review on this topic. Can you help me find topics related to this? So there are engines out there that will help you do that. So I did look up the most commonly used online writing tool is Google Docs. And then the most widely used database for writing help is Grammarly. So.
Well, I'm 50% in. I use the Google Docs.
Well, and I used Google Docs when I'm kind of working with you on something.
Yeah.
So, but, so
Word.
Word to your mother.
Yeah. Actually, Microsoft Word. I can't talk Microsoft Word. I sound like what's his name? Sean Connery. Microsoft Word.
Bond. James Bond.
Yes. Bond. All right.
Yes.
That's a lot of stuff that people research.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good episode. All
yes, right. Fun episode. I love it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you for listening. And
I rubbed off on her.
Yes. Anyways,
affected.
If you would like to follow us and find out more about our podcast, you can go to alwayswritepodcast.com. There are icons there. Those will take you to our YouTube channel. They can take you to our listening platforms and some of our social media. We don't post on all of our social medias because I'm not much for X, but it's still there. If you'd like to email us, you have comments, you have questions, or you are interested in coming on the podcast because you're a writer, author, or someone in the writing industry, feel free to reach out to us at alwayswritepodcast@gmail.com, and we will get back to you. Anything else you'd like to add for the day, Jamie?
No, I couldn't think of anything.
All right.
I wanted that pause. Corbin
Dallas.
Dallas.
All right. As always, I'm author Karisa DeLay.
And I'm Jaime Vendera. I'm Corbin Dallas. Now I'm stuck on the fifth element. So JDHD. All right.
All right. As always right.